Well, good day, everybody. Y'all remember those of you that were my faithful fans back in the glory days of Pacific Ocean Asia. I had done a video in Hong Kong that Western women are destroying themselves and how Western culture is destroying women or feminism is destroying women. Megan Rapinoe, whatever. I really don't care about pronouncing her last name right because she doesn't care about other people's feelings at all. Has got to be one of the most ugly females that makes news today. This is not just my opinion. There is nothing beautiful about her, from the gross hair colors, that face that looks 100% male. She is the epitome of the angry feminist summa cum laude. She's a stench in the nostrils of family values. She's a stench in the nostrils of what it is to be feminine and a lady. Her arrogance is unparalleled. And I had said years ago that Western women are destroying themselves. That's past tense. They have done, as we say in the South, they have done destroy themselves. I am better looking than her naked than she is. And I'm older than she is. That woman has given nothing to society that's even remotely good. She can play soccer, meh. She is nasty. Won't sing the anthem. Wants to spit and venom when invited to the White House, which is a rite of passage. Doesn't have proper decorum. She doesn't have any amount of class or style or femininity at all. And America has been breeding these kind of women like rabbits. And women get offended and they get angry when we men say these things. But listen to the way they talk about us. Listen to how they've had the floor for decade after decade after decade of just bashing men. Rapinoe, I could care less about her soccer. I would never watch a game that she's in. And here's why. Because it seems to me that today women can do everything but be what God wanted them to do. They're not ladies. They're not raising successful children. And what I mean by successful children, children that fear God and have their hearts in the right place. Most Western women are leaving trails of wreckage behind. And when I look at Western women, you can't help but draw parallels between them and Satan. You cannot help but come to the conclusion that Rapinoe is of her father, the devil. This is not just an opinion. Look at her arrogance. And I've said this for years, viewers. I've said this for years. Jesus said that the devil prowls about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. He's the father of lies. He comes to kill, destroy, steal. He was arrogant. He was the height of arrogance. I shall be like the Most High. And I'm going to say something. Americans don't get this in their craw. They don't get this in their craw. They need to. That arrogance is a sign that you are aligned with the devil. Arrogance. And there's a lot of that. We got males, we got women, we got people in America that are arrogant, and none of them have a right to be. As if they created the earth in 6 days by speaking into existence. Yeah, right. But Megan Rapinoe is a classic example of a woman deluded and blinded from the spiritual reality that she does not know God. She has all the fruit hanging from her tree that she is a child of Satan. She rebels being a feminine lady. She rebels marriage. She rebels raising children. She rebels anything feminine and wants to be BUTCH. And I've talked about this for some time. The media puts people out there as if though there's something, and in God's eyes, God's going, if God says even the plowing of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord. Megan Rapinoe, God loves her in the context that he would love to have a relationship with her and show her his grace and forgiveness, but Megan is not somebody who's going to embrace that anytime soon, and probably not ever. Megan is an angry feminist, doesn't feel she gets paid enough. Very bombast in her hatred of the flag, and liberals woo and fawn over how wonderful she is. In what way? What has this woman done for America? Nothing. She's talked crap about us. She is not a symbol of anything, but when you get something stuck to the bottom of your foot, you turn your shoe and you go, ew. That's what Megan Rapinoe looks like. And she has to draw attention to herself. She got a sports injury. I think she's done playing soccer. Thank you. Go away. I'm not into women's sports. I'm going to say that right now. They'll call me misogynistic. Let the women throw all the labels they want. Women shit in their hand, they throw it in the air and think it'll stick to everything. No. Just because a woman says it doesn't mean it's so. Just because you're a big shot in the sports world doesn't mean that God's impressed, or me, or a whole lot of other people. No, I'm not. I could care less about your soccer. I could care less. Your attitude smells as bad as your underarms. There's nothing feminine and sweet about you. And I notice that women will go overtime. I'm meeting men that I deal with today that are becoming trans, and they have more feminine qualities than women do. What is wrong with this picture? Tell me. We've had role reversal in the United States. Men are acting like girls. Girls are pretending to be men. They're not. Women are not men, and men are not women. They may try to deny the reality of what they are. But Western women have destroyed themselves. Rapinoe is a graduate valedictorian of the feminist mindset. Ugly, unpleasant, doesn't have class, doesn't have style, has contributed nothing to the good of humankind. She doesn't have anything. And I don't tell people what I do now. I don't drive the school bus anymore. But I don't tell people on YouTubeville what I do now. But I'm making way more of a difference quietly than she is. And I've said this for years. The world looks at everything upside down away from God. What they think is cool, what they think is a cat's meow, God's going, you know what? All of that you all get uppity about doesn't mean a thing to me. It is garbage. I remember years ago when I was in Hong Kong and I was with a gal friend of mine, Jenny, And excuse me, she said we went to Shangwan into the marketplaces, and I found the mahjong tile bracelets and the glass beads and the tiger's eye. And she says, "You know, Michael, my employer says this is lapsap. That stuff you're buying is lapsap. Mo Young lapsap." I said, "What is all that?" Mo Young is useless in Cantonese. Lapsap is garbage. That in the Chinese eyes, all them trinkets that we tourists buy, they said, Mo Young lapsap, useless garbage. And it takes growing, it takes going through life to realize. And as I get older, I'm getting closer to the big dreaded 6-0. I look at some of the stuff. It's like the years in the past are just flooding into my mind this last year, reminding me of things I'd forgotten. Remember how stupid you got over your truck? Remember how stupid you got over this and this and this? And look at where you are now. What is sad is you look at a woman like Megan and she does not have the ability to view herself properly and in accordance with God. This is not just my opinion, this is a fact. The media world, the secular world, the world system, as God calls it, does not look at things the way God looks at things. And Christians, though we're imperfect, we look at things different because we're not of the world. Megan is of the world. The world system is under the power and domination of Satan. Megan is a poster child for the ugly liberal. Angry, hateful. I promise you she's hateful. I promise you if she met me, she would hate me from this first second she saw me, met me, whatever. That this woman is the poster child for our soccer team, an American soccer team, and acting like a complete angry buffoon, saying she doesn't get paid enough. You ain't worth it, baby. Your attitude, your looks, you playing ball. Nobody watches women's soccer as much as they do the World Cup of men. And I'm so tired of women like her and feminist, ignoramus women making statements that are just baseless, saying that men make more. No, that is not true. There are women who make way more than I do and do absolutely nothing all day. It's called, I got these. Not nice. That's it. This. Women got more entitlement, more favoritism in America than any country in the world. They've got more favoritism than men. They get away with more stuff in the workplace than men. They get away with more stuff in the courts when it comes to alimony, child support, custodial issues, and the dividing up of the man's hard earned goods, bank accounts, and homes and cars. Look at Tiger Woods. Now, I do not condone what he did. He had that beautiful Swedish woman and he fooked around. He had to give her a lot of money. None of that was her money. She didn't have a right to that. And I don't support Tiger. Tiger is another overblown, overrated mess. He's driving drunk, wrecks his SUV, damages chance to go to the Masters. I'm like, and I'm supposed to care and have compassion for this. Now, if Megan Rapinoe came to Christ, wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be awesome? But our country showcases the embarrassing ones. Nothing has changed except this since I did my video back 2010, 2011, excuse me, 2011, 2012 in Hong Kong. Western women are destroying themselves. That got a lot of views. I have friends to this day, people who connected with that video and said, my gosh, I thought I was the only one who saw this. Western women have destroyed themselves. They want to be like a man. They want to cuss and yell and get up in a man's face. Look at their music. Look at their affect. Look at the way they are in a business. They're not nice. They're not sweet. They're not ladies. They cannot raise children as good as they want to brag that they're a mother. And well, it's Father's Day. I might as well wish myself a happy Father's Day. No, you're not a father. Give it up. They play the victim. It's like, well, you open your legs to that man, so you are to blame for that. So you can talk about bad men, but you choose bad men and you look at the good men, the ones that want to have a house, the ones that want to work, and you ignore them and you shun them. Now in America, we have a whole kaleidoscope of opportunities before you. You can be gay, you can be trans, you can be one of 85,000 pronouns. I had a talk at a nightclub with a girl that wanted to tell me there were 85,000 different genders. New math, 2 equals 85,000. What formula are you using to come up with that? But the problem is women aren't getting better. Look at Rapinoe. She's a bitter, angry. Look at her face. You want to make love with that? You want to kiss that? You want to look across the breakfast table at that? Not me. And people say, that's not very nice of you. You call yourself a Christian. Oh, yes. Bring my Christianity into account because I'm telling the truth. Ugly people do ugly things, and ugly people believe ugly lies. Rapino does not advance or further the cause of femininity or good mothering or ladylikeness. She furthers the cause of an angry, bent, discarded, I don't know what you want to call it, crushed pop can on the side of a road. And she out there walking around like she's all that on a stick. You got a show called The View, one of the stupidest garbage waste management shows ever. Bimbo women, overpaid women, can't dress right, spend more money on their makeup probably than I do on groceries a year. And these are not quality females. They're liberal. They were Barbara Walters' spawn of wanting a balanced. Oh, really? Barbara Walters. Okay. She was liberal too. But The View is a trash can toilet bowl production. It is I'm reading the comments. One of the things that bothers me is that you cannot, and I've said this again and again, and I've beaten a dead horse, you cannot reason with most women in this culture. You cannot reason and get women to see the error of their ways. You're never going to get a Megan Rapinoe to see even remotely how awful she is. It would be like you going up and telling the devil, you think you're going to win against God? Of course he does. Arrogance blinds yourself to the truth. When you are arrogant, when you are full of yourself, when you think you're so important, you make statements. When you have a younger generation of nasty people hating the flag, hating the Constitution, screaming that men get paid more, is this somebody you want to pursue? Is this somebody who's going to help you succeed? No. Megan Rapinoe is in a long line of women who are going to be in for a rude awakening when they stand before the Lord of the earth. And they can scream and they can yell and they can stamp their feet and then get all the media on their side and say how wonderful of a soccer player they are. Just like Michael Jackson, his funeral went on for what, a month, 2 months? I was in Hong Kong when it happened. I would call my uncle periodically and he said, "Oh my gosh, they're going on and on about this guy." But what did Michael Jackson give the world? Some good music. Did Michael Jackson change the world? Michael Jackson was sleeping in bed with Coley McCulkin at 12 years old. And the world, who will condemn a man for being with an underage woman, ignored the sins of Michael Jackson. Megan Rapinoe is demanding attention by being as negative as she can be. Recently, she was heard saying something about praying for the USA is a horrible thing to do. Really? And she would know that to be the case? The woman makes money, she's got fame and fortune, and she's worse than the Krusty Krab. She looks like a grease stain on the bottom of a driveway. And I know that's not nice for me to say that, but I've just noticed there's a direct correlation between ugly looks and liberal, nasty women. You can look at Dianne Feinstein. You can look at, man, now I can't remember her name. The justice that passed away, the female. Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi. And people say, well, AOC's cute, except there's nothing up here. Nothing. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The world thought she was so wonderful for what? Supporting the murder of 61 million children? She did. She approved of abortion and women's rights. Oh, it's such a loss that she died. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It is appointed unto man once to die and then the judgment. Oh, no, I was thinking of Ruth RBG. She was the feminist. She passed away recently. But if our press and our media wants to elevate these awful women, then I'm going to elevate my criticism of them. Because the media is not thus saith the Lord. CBS, PBS, MSNBC, ABC, CNN, NPR, Huffington Post, and all the online liberal toilet paper material, they're not thus saith the Lord. And people will laugh and mock me for that. But we have got to galvanize as Christians and realize this world is headed in a complete contrary direction. I have had my problems, I have had my sins, and I've had my struggles. What else is new? But even I realize, man, how bad are things going to get before people wake up? Why would anybody idolize or adore Rapinoe? And you look at these people, they're arrogant. Is that a good trait? No. Western women, have they gotten worse since I left Hong Kong? No. But feminism is a dead end street. It makes ugly, nasty, childish, middle school acting females. That's it. This isn't liberating America. It's putting women in childish chains once again. I would hold up a woman against every one of these liberal females that I mentioned. And that was the mother of the great famous preacher John Wesley, who started what was known as the Methodist Church. Now, please, the United Methodist Church today is not what it was 100, 200 years ago. Miss Wesley had a lot of children. I got to look at this. I believe she had a lot. And let me get this straight. How many children did Miss Wesley, the mother of John Wesley, have? Wow. Susanna and Samuel Wesley had 19 children. 9 of her children died as infants. 4 of the children who died were twins. A maid accidentally smothered one child. She was born in 1669, was the daughter of Dr. Samuel Annesley and Mary White, and the mother of John and Charles Wesley. She was the mother of Methodism. Although she never preached a sermon or published a book or founded a church, she is known as the mother of Methodism. Why? Because 2 of her sons, John Wesley and Charles Wesley, as children, consciously or unconsciously will apply the example and teachings and circumstances of their home life. I don't care what this world tells us about Rapinoe and these liberal, blowhard, nasty women that want to infringe upon me and my own way. Hey, I'm glad to see the conversation. That's encouraging. Welcome, everybody. Susanna Wesley believed in passing on the baton, not of feminism, not of let's go for sports, but she taught her sons to fear God. And I cannot emphasize enough, and I have my deficits. Those of you that know me well. But she raised her children to fear God. And I've said it before, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And if you have that basic ingredient in your life, if you are a Christian and you have that basic understanding that your life starts today with God, it don't matter if you can't play soccer or be a CEO or a big tech geek. It doesn't matter. your God will meet your needs and take care of you. Your God will not be moved or deterred by the loud shaking and clamoring of the world and the braggarts and the big egos blowing up around you. They're just showing their fruit. They're just showing that their allegiance is to Satan. All this bragging. Oh, I bought this car. I got this house. I got this. Yeah, it's all about I. But God, who controls your life, could shut your heart off right now. You could have an aneurysm. You could have cancer. Ooh, you're impressive. All Rapinoe is another child acting out, demanding attention. She's not a well adjusted female. Megan Rapinoe is not a well adjusted lady. Susanna Wesley had more strength in her than Rapinoe does. She had more quality. And it proves in the fact that John Wesley started a movement that shut down bars, that people gave their life to Christ, that a movement started across England and America. And she lost her husband. She didn't play victim and be silly and date guys and have sex with them. She raised her kids. We're talking about in a time where women needed men. Huh. How come she didn't go chase another man? Because unlike all the loudmouth, arrogant, showy women and all the TikTok divas and the real queens on Facebook, from 7-year-old girls showing their little nubby pokies with no bra jumping up and down, and Facebook censoring conservatives for this or that, but they're not censoring child porn, soft porn. Please. Susanna Wesley was a woman whose worth was more than gold. And the influence of what she did is still felt in the world. And our news yammers and hammers about crap. Western women have not become better. They have not arrived. When the head of our women's soccer team is shoe stain, grease spot, where have we come? How long is it before our demise? Yes, now I never read that. I had, and I wish I still had it. It was this thick, leather bound. The covers are falling off. The Illustrated History of Methodism. Unfortunately, I sold the book to a man in Hibbing, Minnesota when I left many years ago, and I wish I'd have held on to it. But I was at a time in my life I had to load shed a lot of stuff and take my truck and head on out. I should have had it bound, but I was at a time in my life I didn't have time for all that. When you have a company like Nike, which has been dominated by a silly boy called Crappernack, who gets offended at a pair of women's shoes that were made that had the 13 colony stars on them. And you got a grown man playing football having a hissy fit over that. We lack real male leadership in this country. Joe Biden is not a leader. But wait, Most of the Republicans aren't leaders either. There's something messed up when we have a female governor in South Dakota doing a better job than any conservative male is. And I don't think women should be in those positions, but I'd rather have her in there than some liberal. Feminism has been a cancer on our society. Women have been sexualized and they allow them to be sexualized, and they're allowing their little girls to be sexualized. And is anybody standing up and saying, "Stop the bus? I want to get off"? And I don't mean getting off the way you think. I'm talking about getting off that bus and saying, leave those kids alone. Drag queens at a public library for children's story time. That's really necessary, right? Minneapolis library lost their minds. Look at how stupid our news is. There was a 4.1 earthquake somewhere in California. That is a nothing burger. New Year's Day, they had a 7.6 in Japan, in Ishinawa, and it really made a mess. 30,000 homes down. I checked the death toll this morning, it was 70. There's yet more to be found in these crushed buildings. Most of these structures that collapsed were wood. And wood is supposed to withstand, but it shook so hard. These buildings didn't stand a chance. But our silly little news with our silly overpaid feminist journalists wearing dowdy, ugly clothing, ugly goo gobs of pasted on makeup, and their distended bellies under the desk. And yeah, that's right. And they all talk the same, they all look the same. And we're going to report on a 4.1, and we're going to get reaction from people who felt the tremors. Oh, now we're going to imitate Japan. Okay. Any houses fall down and the streets buckle up 3 feet? Okay, yeah, gotcha. None of that happened. I mean, when you see what has happened, the news has turned into little girl stuff. It's unprofessional journalism, the Trump bashing, the screaming and yelling about Republicans and how dangerous they are is simply a loud banging drum and cymbal and gong to cause people to ignore all the crap that the loudmouths are doing. Feminism is destructive to any society. And one of the reasons a lot of men don't find good women is because good women don't want to be good. They like bad boys, they like thugs. That's what they live for. Western women have destroyed themselves. And men should not have to compete in a world with women. Women should stay at home. Back in the days of Susanna, they did. They were not out there playing games and messing with men. Men went to work, the women took care of the house. What's wrong with that? Tell me. Oh, you're misogynistic. Shut up. And you being out here has helped better society. What in the world am I sitting on? My keys. That makes sense. So, why is it that women are so full of themselves that they cannot ever see who and what they really are? How does our society continue to pedestalize them? It's like Eric's video years ago that was a classic when the man goes up and talks to the woman, and then somebody comes up, puts a thing under the woman and pumps it up, and she's on a pedestal. And then he goes over to the obese woman, and she's pumped up on a pedestal. And it's actually gotten to that point. The not so desirous women you can't even get a date with. And it's almost laughing stock. If you want a better chance to get a date, you might as well date the same sex or a trans. Scary, huh? That's what our society's pushing. When a man can look you in the eye and say, "I choose to identify as a woman, and I don't want you calling me sir," um, that person has mental problems, and I know that they're going to get offended, but that is mental illness defined, and there's not 85,000 sexes. He made them male and female. I don't care what anybody says. I've admitted as a man about my own struggles, and I was ribbed and ridiculed and harassed and harangued and stalked for it because I said it before. Americans don't like honesty, and the people that attack me the most are guilty of all of the things that I have been so hard on. And the thing that bothers me is if I admit I've had a feminine side, but I'm not a trans and I'm not a woman, I'm a man. I spent 4 years by myself remodeling a house by myself. I recently just did my own plumbing by myself. I had my plumber hook up to the toilet, sink, tub, water heater, but I laid out all the plumbing and I figured it out. I have torn apart every room, every wall. I'm about 75% done. I have faced hell moving to the South. I'm not a fan of the South. And I don't plan on staying down here for forever. But I've given it my best. I've learned a lot. But when you tell the truth, and I've said this before, you're going to have haters. When you're a man like me that doesn't wear a suit and tie and I'm not polished, you get all the wags out there that criticize my flaws, criticize things that I've said and done, and tease and mock because there's something innately wrong with themselves. I've had some problems with Candace Owens in the last couple of years. I've seen some things in her that are disturbing. Um, let me make it very clear. Okay, I know some of you guys may get offended at this, but put your seatbelt on. Hear me out. Even some of these conservative women listen to what you're saying. We're pedestalizing them. Oh, she's great. Oh, is she? Does she know you? Does she care? Candace Owens got a pretty big head and she's got a rich white man and she's pulling in lots of money. Candace Owens also took, I can't remember what YouTuber started speaking out against a YouTuber whose wife was acting horrible and she was taking the side of the woman. Crazy stuff, folks. Crazy stuff. And what you said about empowering, yeah, you're dead on. I'm trying to read all these comments. Let me say something about narcissism. Everybody has it, men and women, but women automatically have it more. I've experienced it Drove a school bus and I'd give out candy bars for good behavior with middle and high school. Girls were least likely to say thank you and be appreciative. In fact, if that isn't bad enough, they'd say, can I have this? I don't want that one. No, I'm not going to sit here and shift and choose. Go trade with somebody else. And next time, honey, I won't even bring it if you're going to give me that attitude. The thing is, you cannot you cannot help but notice, and I've said this before, the social media world has become a platform. It has become a temple, an altar for women to put themselves out there like a deity, worse than before we had it. Women could get away with this stuff before we had social media because the media portrayed us as one says here as bumbling idiots, dim bulbs, whatever. But now we have men all over YouTube talking about the reality. I came out years ago. I feel that I broke ground in my own way. I talk about an abusive mother and a silly crap that went on in my family world and the abuse by women. And as a bus driver in the past, I saw teachers come out that had no business teaching. They were yelling and screaming at the boys because the boys were a little bit wound up. It's like, you women teachers should not be over boys. And I read a pocketback book years ago I found at a garage sale. It was unbelievably rich with wisdom and insight. It said the incompatibility of men and women. It was not a Christian book. It was written by a psychologist. And he said in the premise of his book that from the 60s on up, men have been raised by mostly women in the teaching, in the schools, even in the church. All the women do the Sunday school. And they're always yelling at the boys, settle down, settle down, settle down. We need to make, maybe what we need to do is rise up and say, no more women teaching men. Oh, wait a minute. Paul said that. I do not permit a woman to teach or have authority over men. Boom. And yet men just bow down to that. Why do we do that? Why do we do this? Why do we submit to this? Women are bossy butts. Women act like they're spiritually know-it-alls. Yeah, look at how well our society's running right now. And let me tell you something. Let me put the boot in it more accurately. Most of the screwed up world that we live in is a result of a Democratic Party where men, so-called men, have allowed the ring of Democrat women to be placed in their nose and led around by them. Look at all the radical women in the Democrat left. Look at them. And then look at guys like Gavin Newsom, and let's go to Canada with Justin Trudeau. I have to be careful what I say because of good old almighty oligarchy Google. But those are pansy asses. Those aren't men, folks. They're pussies. I'm going to ban gas cars and mowers. Oh, wow. You're such a great leader. You dum-dums. Do you know what the end of the book says is going to happen in this world? It has nothing to do with spherical heating. And who came up with Mother Nature? How about Father God? Mother Nature, another lie from the devil. There is no Mother Nature. Who came up with that? Women. Women have deified themselves. I don't care who they are. Get on Facebook, get on TikTok. All the women in there. I can do in 500 different moves, show you I am retarded. And why are the guys watching it? Because they're showing skin. Because they're not wearing a bra. But the dancing? Sheesh. I've seen good dancing. These young ladies today aren't doing it. You've got millions of young and older women online that are legends in their own minds. And because they have a following, their head goes like the Goodyear blimp. Oh yeah, I'm on social media. I've got all these fans. I got a cash app, and man, the money's rolling in. They're not lying. They're not lying. Do you know what's sad? They're playing that one string guitar that I told you about, their sexiness. And once they're done playing that, once it gets old and that string goes, bang, what do they got? Nobody wants to live with them. Nobody wants to take care of them. They don't know how to cook. They don't know how to clean. Dude, I have a female friend writing me. She's in the process of they're filing a divorce uncontested online. And as soon as it's over, she's out. She said, I have to teach my husband how to operate a washer and dryer. And he's 62. I said, what? I said, my mom told me I had to pull the permanent press cycle on and turn on the washer and run the dryer when I was a kid. I said, can he operate a toaster? She laughed. Yeah, he can actually operate a toaster. I'm reading comments here. The older I get, I don't even want to have sex. I still like lust. I still like beautiful women. I want to touch and feel and frizz. But sex, when you get older, things start to change. You just start to go, you know what? I don't want all that mucky muck and yucky yuck. I want to care about somebody. I want a companion, but I've arrived at a point because of all that I've been through. Sometimes it's easier just to, pardon me, boys, rub one out and be on your way. It saves a lot of trouble. And of course, we've got all the masturbation police out there that'll tell you, well, that's wrong. I'm not even going to listen to it. Pointless. God's not done with me. He's not done with you. But Western women haven't improved. If you really think they have, look at the state of affairs we're in. Go look at the African American culture. All these women willing to open their legs. 75% of these children in the African American community are raised by only mothers that don't have the maturity or the collective wherewithal. And where I live, you go all over and you got these low income women walking around, no bras and a beautiful set of nipples and areolas poking through skimpy shirts. And all it just automatically conjures up that, oh, I want to get laid today. And it's a cycle of despair. They're cute, they get laid, they pop out another kid, they get more welfare checks, EBT cards. It's a vicious, ugly cycle. And when you got bad boys that didn't grow up under a father, like George Floyd and all these other clowns out there that made the media, and the media twisted it up and lied and told us that George Floyd died at the hands of Chauvin. No, he didn't. That's a lie. He died from overdose and fentanyl. He had COVID, he had artery blockage, he had a list of problems. I want to say it again. When you have a problem that has been entrenched in a community for so long and you refuse to face it, you use a scapegoat. It's whites, it's cops, it's systemic racism. Same thing with women. When you start, like I do or anybody else talks about these women hear what I have to say, they're gonna label me misogynistic. Oh, this guy's got issues. And in their mind, it exonerates themselves to go, well, therefore I don't have to listen to him. Well, guess what, babe? That goes for us. You may think you have all this authority knowledge and intellect. You don't. And we don't and won't and don't have to listen to you. So go ahead and ignore me. That's fine. But Japan or excuse me, China and Russia were off the coast of Alaska the other day with their warships, both of them together. And the US sent out a couple destroyers to flex their muscle. And I'm going, you know what? What's Rapinoe going to do? What are all these tough talking women going to do when and if somebody starts firing at us? They're going to go to Planet Fitness and think they're tough. When Japanese and Russian troops start storming our beaches, don't think it can't happen? Could. But I'm going to say something. The world is going to end the way God says it, not the way a bunch of scientists or some men say. And women are on the wrong side of the equation when they want to dominate us. It is not the right or the job or the requirement of woman to dominate us men. But we live in America where the rules are totally different. Let me say this, there's some good women out there. Most of them are married. There are good Caucasian and good Black women in this country. They're married. They're well adjusted. You get up at our age, I see you're 28, but you get up at my age, we're damaged goods. And the women too. And in some cases, the women excel us in being just awful. Rapinoe, I'm not just being vicious and mean. Rapinoe begs to be critiqued. She's been on her throne too long. And at the end of the day, Rapinoe has nothing to offer eternity. She's a godless fool. She's a lost soul. And if you look at her face, she almost looks soulless. Am I far off? I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. If we lived in a normal country under common sense, Rashida Tlaib would have been thrown out on her butt for the statements she made recently. Ilhan Omar yelling and screaming anti Semitism on the House floor several years ago. A reasonable country would have removed her and said, no, you can't do that. But they're Democrats, they're liberals, they can do whatever they want. Look at Maine and Colorado. Their Supreme Courts respectively said that they're not allowing Trump on the ballot. The Supreme Court has already agreed to take up Trump's case. I hope they get their asses handed to them on a platter, those states. They think they can play God and they can play dictator and say who can and cannot be on the ballot. And then they want to hide behind the 14th Amendment. An insurrection. Repetition wins, folks. Nancy Pelosi, insurrection, insurrection, insurrection. You say a lie long enough, people start to believe it. What Pelosi fails to realize is if those people had intent to kill, They would have done it. What you had on that January 6th with a bunch of fools that acted up. What we don't know is who they were with. Did the Democrats send a bunch of people in there to make it look like it was Trump supporters? We don't know. There was no fair trial with any of that. That's right. And when you see arrogance, Satan is not far off. You know, they talk about the fruit of the Spirit, which is love, joy, peace, gentleness, kindness, self control. What is the fruit of the devil? Ego, mocking, laughing, angry. Well, look at Rapinoe. Look at Rashida Tlaib. Look at these people. They're self indulging and they're narcissists and they're not happy. They're not. All right, Clark Kent, you have a good night. Thanks for joining the conversation. We live in interesting times. And since I narrated my own video in another country in Hong Kong, things have really shifted. But nothing's changed from my original video. Western women have destroyed themselves. And America's a foolish nation right now because they're failing to realize the importance of a male and female raising kids to police themselves and govern themselves like our Constitution says. Anything goes in our society. Now we got to budge over and move over to accommodate people looking into their pants, deciding they want to be a girl when they're a boy. It's disturbing. Megan Rapinoe is a poster child and a symbolic figurehead of a country that's riding around on a brown log in a toilet bowl that's on its way down. Thanks for joining, everybody. On that note, this is Pacific signing off.